train is a pretty popular line, and with good reason. It connects people in Queens to Manhattan in a fast and efficient way. What's cooler is the line's history. So to keep this intro brief, let's begin our journey into the history of the MTA train edition. The E-train as we know it runs from Jamaica Center to World Trade Center, but it wasn't always like that. The line first opened in 1933, running from the then Hudson Terminal, which is present-day WTC, and the Rockaways to Roosevelt Avenue. By the end of the 1930s, E-trains ran express on the Queens Boulevard line to 169th Street, which is on the present-day F line. Service was mostly consistent up until August 30th, 1970, when E-trains would be cut back out of Brooklyn and by the late 80s terminated at Jamaica Center. Fun fact, the E-train is one of the most overcrowded subway lines in the entire system. While it's not the most popular line in the system that goes to the one train, but it does show why Xbox is being installed on the Queens Boulevard line. As for rolling stock, the E-train uses only a 16OS as they are the only cars with communication-based train control or CBTC. However, the arguably more iconic equipment are the legendary R32. They ran Queens Boulevard up until 2008 when the first few 16OS began running on the line. As for present day, the E-train is fine. It's usually a line that get experimented on as some 16OS on the E-train got digital ads and less seat, which are now seen in the brand new R211 subway cars. There are some service reliability issues as the E-train gets rerouted quite often. Overall, it's a decent enough line that's very helpful to a lot of New Yorkers. The MTA can have unconventional ways of doing things. From the new platform gates and the barriers at 125th Street. No better example of this is the Edgewater Depot, a depot built on the water. This is a brief history of the Edgewater Depot. The Edgewater Depot is a short-lived depot as the MTA only leased the building. They didn't build it or have any involvement in the construction of it. They leased the building in 1977 to relieve congestion from the Staten Island Depot, which is present-day Castleton Avenue Depot. Problems began with a fire that destroyed Pier 20, which left the depot unusable in 1978. After the fire, they used the depot as a storage facility where they stored new RTS-04 buses that were waiting to begin service. This leads us to 1983, where two buses that were loaned from the Washington Metro fell into the water as a pier collapsed, leaving us with this infamous image. After the collapse, the MTA sought to rehabilitate the depot, but then abandoned their plans and the depot in 1985 when they determined that it was structurally unsafe to be a bus depot, thus ending the short life of Edgewater Depot. Before we wrap up for today, I just wanted to say thank you for joining me on this journey through time. If you enjoyed this video and want to stay updated with more fascinating historical tales, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, keep exploring the past. Long Island Railroad is a pretty old railroad with over 190 years of history. One of these pieces of history is the MP54, which is an electric multiple unit. Join me as I discuss the history of the MP54.
Everybody's doing a brand new dance now. Come on, baby, do the locomotion. I know you get to like it if you give it a chance now. Come on, baby, do the locomotion. My
MP54, as previously mentioned, was an EMU or electric multiple unit built by the American Car and Foundry Company for a few railroads like the Pennsylvania Railroad, Penn Central, and the Long Island Railroad. Originally, they were meant to be unpowered coaches, but were changed to be self-propelled cars. The Long Island variant is unique as unlike the Piara, Long Island uses third rail power rather than overhead wires, which means that Long Island's MP54 lacked big pantograph gates. There were 923 cars built for Long Island and they began service in 1908. By the time PRR and Penn Central merged, a successor for the MP54 was already beginning to be sought out. For Long Island, that successor was the Bottom One, which deserves its own video as it brought many changes that we see present on today's trains. The MP54 were retired from all operators by 1981, ending the car's legacy. If you've enjoyed this journey through the history of the Lurs MP54 EMU and want to stay updated on more fascinating tales from the world of transportation, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support enables us to continue bringing you engaging content that celebrates the legacy of transportation milestones. Don't miss out on the opportunity to delve into the fascinating world of railroads, so hit that subscribe button and join us on the tracks of history. Thank you for being part of our community, and we look forward to sharing more captivating stories with you. Until next time, happy travels. The MTA has quite the history with fares, as especially in recent times, people don't pay their fares and as a result the fares go higher. The point of today's video is to document the changes in the fares. This is the history of MTA's fares.
Take it away.
I represent the rent is too damn high party. People working 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, some a third job. Why? The rent is too damn high. The people I'm here to represent can't afford to pay the rent, cause rent is too damn high. The people being laid off right now can't eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Only a governor like the father of a house can put everything in control. The bottom line is the economic state of emergency is the way to go. The way to go. To go. This will reduce the cost. You cut the rent down. You cut the taxes down. To give business owners the chance to hire people. To give business owners the chance.
Before we begin our brief revisit to the MTA's fares, I just want to say that this will only cover the subway and local bus fares, not commuter rail, express buses, and different payment options like a 30-day unlimited Metro card. Okay, so we begin a trip in 1904 where the fare is just 5 cents. This, I believe, is the longest time between a fare increase, as the fare would increase in July of 1948 to 10 cents, which is about 44 years. That's pretty impressive. As we usher the 50s in, I realized that the fares increased so much that I'll go by decades. Luckily for commuters at the time, the fares only increased once in 53 to 15 cents. Moving on to the 60s. The 60s were home to one fare increase which occurred in 1966, which brought the fare from 15 cents to 20 cents. A pretty uneventful decade in terms of fare increases. Moving on. This decade brought us 3 fare hikes. In 1970, 72, and 75. The fare went up to 30 cents, then 35 cents, and finally to 50 cents or half a dollar. Keep in mind that tokens were the primary payment method for the system. Hopefully the 80s will be better. It was not. This decade had 4 fare increases, all totaling to about a 50-cent increase. The first increase happened in 1980, followed by 81, 84, and 86. The fare increases goes as 60 cents, then 75 cents to 90 cents, finally $1. 1986 marks the first time a fare would cost $1. Another thing to note is the increases themselves have increased to about 15 cents each rather than the 5 cents of yesteryear or decade. It's only going to get worse.
It's a bittersweet symphony that's life.
The 90s for the MTA was a major decade as they started to invest heavily into the future of the system. With a new logo and a new payment system, how were they going to fund these endeavors? Fare hikes, of course. Actually, the fare hikes weren't too bad. Throughout the decade, the fare was raised 3 times in 1990, 92, and 95. Increases were from $1 to $1.15, $1.25, and lastly $1.50. Now for the new millennium. Two new lines and no number 9. The 2000s can be divided into two parts: early 2000s and late 2000s. Early 2000s for New York was radically different. As with 9/11s, life would change. The MTA suddenly had to rebuild a few stations and also juggle financial issues. They introduced new subway cars and 2 new lines, that being the V&W trains, and also eliminated a line, which is the 9. The late 2000s was mainly about MTA's financial troubles. Their main goal was to not raise fares, so to do that they eliminated the V&W trains. Still, the fares were raised. Starting in 2003, the fare was raised to $2 and in 2009 raised to $2.25. This will lead us into the modern era of the 2010s and 2020s. The fares increases slowed down significantly as there were only 2 fare hikes, one in 2013 and another in 2015. First to $2.50 and the next to $2.75. Quite commendable as this was a pretty eventful decade with new lines and projects. But the next decade would have a twist that most wouldn't see coming. The defining moment of the 2020s so far was the global pandemic, which effectively shut down the world for a few months, which, as you can imagine, hurt the MTA. Fare hikes were inevitable, and luckily only one has hit so far in 2023, raising the fare to $2.9. However, some say that in 2025 it could be increased to over $3. Yikes! It's very interesting to see how the fares have evolved and adjusted to the way of life. The 70s, 80s seconds, and 90 seconds all had major fare hikes, and the 2000s and 2010 seconds took a different approach. I wonder what'll happen next to the fares. Could we ever see a fare decrease? Doubt it, but hey, thanks for watching.
I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. Hey, hey. Well, I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. Hey, hey. Said I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. And if I share with you my story, would you share your dollar with me?
The 0188S are cars. The majority of the fleet are rebuilt 0142 cars and the rest are identical. However, the order and introduction of the 0188 had major changes that are still visible today. This is the history of the 0142A, I mean 0188. The 0188s were built in 2013. Or were they? See, some of the A188s were made up from modified A142 cars from the late 90s and early 2000s. 300 of these cars were made of former A142 cars and only 87 are new cars. The conversion removed all A142A from the 6 and all A62A from the 7 in a well-known fleet swap. The 7 uses 11 car trains, so 37 C-type cars were created. The A188s are equipped with communication-based train control and are the only division cars with that technology. This means they can only run on the 7 as of right now. And honestly, that's it. These train cars are new and some are even retrofitted A142 cars. Not much to say, but they're decent cars. Thanks for watching. Do you ever look at something and think, man, that's weird? For me, it's the A11 subway cars. They are so aesthetically different from the cars of its era and cars of today. Join me as I go over a brief history of the A11 cars, better known as the $1 million cars. The A11 wasn't like a regular type car as they were essentially prototypes. 10 of them were built creating one whole train set. They were built in 1949 and entered service in the same year. They were the first stainless steel cars built for the MTA. The nickname $1 million train comes from the fact that each car totaled about $100,000 and times that by 10 you get $1 million. The A11s were a casualty from the disastrous construction of the 2nd Avenue subway. Originally, there were supposed to be 400 A11 cars built. The A11s were built for the 2nd Avenue subway, but as we now know, the 2nd Avenue subway didn't open for many more decades, so this plan was scrapped. The A11s are also referred to as the A34. Why? Well, when the A11 was overhauled, they were overhauled under the A30 for contract. So technically, the A11 don't exist anymore and the surviving A11 is actually an A34. How did we get to only one surviving A11 left? Well, the A11 ran from 1949 to 1977. The incident that pretty much ended their lives happened in 1977 when one car was wrecked in a yard accident. They were subsequently retired and later scrapped, however one is now preserved by the New York Transit Museum. You can find the A11 in the Transit Museum and occasionally on excursions by the Transit Museum. As for my thoughts on the A11, I think they're unique. I think the windows on the doors look odd. Overall, they're not my favorite, but definitely have the place in New York City's transportation history. Thanks for watching. I hope you found some of this entertaining and informative. Please join me next time as I'll be going over a brief history of the Yukon Depot. Once again, thanks for watching and please subscribe. This is JPro signing out. Hello and welcome to a special edition of A Brief History of the MTA. It's my special event dubbed Transit Week, and today I'm talking about the second bus depot on the series. Yukon Depot is a Staten Island depot and the replacement of Edgewater Depot, which I already have a video on. To keep things brief, let's begin. Now, Yukon has had a fairly boring life. It opened on September 13, 1981. The purpose was to help Castleton Depot and replace Edgewater Depot. And frankly, that's it. Nothing notable has happened to the depot, so let's go over the routes and fleets Yukon has. Yukon has the S44, S57, S59, S61, S62, S89, S91, S94, S79, SBS, SIM1, SIM1C, SIM5, SIM6, SIM7, SIM9, SIM10, and lastly the SIM11. Their fleet consists of the 2015 Novabus LFS, the 2016 Novibus LFS, the 2019 Novibus LFS, and lastly the 2015 and 16 Prevost X345. For my closing thoughts, Yukon is alright. I don't know much else. I'm indifferent with their fleet. My favourite LFS is in Queens, the 2011 Novibus LFS if you were wondering. I know this depot is useful for Staten Island residents. Thanks for watching. I think Yukon is a cool depot. I hope you agree. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time when I talk about the former Nassau and Atlantic stations on the Staten Island Railway. This is JPro signing off. The Staten Island Railway has always felt to me a bit neglected. I mean, just look at it. However, the MTA does care for it as it is getting new cars to replace the 50-year-older 44S. As for the railway itself, the stations on the line hasn't really changed except for the opening of the Arthur Kills station and the closure of the Nassau and Atlantic stations. And it's those two stations that I want to focus today's video on. So join me as I discuss the two former stations. What were the Nassau and Atlantic stations? To find that out, let's dive a little bit into each station's life, starting with the Nassau station. The Nassau station was built around 1924 to serve a factory there. Not much has changed until 1971 when the station's platform length was extended. After that, the station just sat there, rotting away. It got replaced when the Arthur Kills station opened. No surprise there, in the years leading up to its closure, the station looked rough to say the least. Graffiti on station equipment, peeling paint and an overall lack of polish makes it clear why they tore it down. Now about the Atlantic station. This time Atlantic was built in 1908 to serve a different factory named the Atlantic Terracotta Company. Exciting, I know. Another similarity is its downfall. After having its platforms extended 1971, the MTA ignored it and the Nassau station. Every other station got something over these stations, and all the neglect led to its demise and replacement. Which brings me to On January 21, 2017, Staten Island Railway customers were rewarded with this great station. Compared to the stations it replaced, it's like a brand new station, probably because it is. New are the 8 accessible ramps, textured platform edges to warn the visually impaired, and a brand new design. This, along with the A211S, can bring modernisation to the Staten Island Railway. Thanks for watching. These stations were pretty much dead by the time they got replaced. I hoped you enjoyed this video. The subway is no stranger to various oddities, myths and mysteries. The mysterious 9 train and the mythical H have all been talked about. But the atrocities committed by this oddity can't go unnoticed. This is a brief history of the Z train.
What we do here is go back.
The Z train's origins date back to a time where the BMT used numbers instead of the letters we are all familiar with. The 14 and 15 were what we know as present-day J and Z trains. The skip-stop service pattern was a thing back then, having the 15 run express while the 14 ran local. They didn't become letter until the late 60s when a non-IATI number trains were wiped clean off the face of the universe. So what became of the 14 and 15 trains? The 14 became the JJ as it was local and the 15 became the J. I believe at the time double letters meant that the service was a local variant of an express service. Anyways, the timeline becomes a bit confusing as it merges with the Q and the K, so I'll skip to 1973 when the QT service was relabeled to the J and cut back to Broad Street. As for the Z, it was still the K, which was formerly the KK and didn't get renamed till 1976 when it was merged into the J, which ran alongside the M, having skip-stop service that way. During the destruction of the Jamaica line north of 121st, skip-stop service was discontinued entirely. With the opening of the new Archer Avenue line came a new service. The Z train was finally introduced and would run skip-stop between Jamaica Center and Broadway Junction. The Z was to differentiate the two services as the J was local and the Z was skip-stop. That's pretty much it, but I am missing one thing. Looks like court is in session. The atrocities of the Z train. The Z train is no stranger to controversy, so let's count them all. The Z train is useless. The main complaint of riders is that the Z train is useless and hurts services as it takes trains away that could be used for the J. Atrocity number 2, the Z train is confusing. The Z train utilizes a skip-stop service pattern which can be confusing to passengers. Atrocity number 3, it doesn't exist. The Z run very limited trains, about 8 a day, leading commuters to not believe it actually existed. Atrocity number 4, it's not better. The Z train was, in a previous form, a better train line, and the fact that it's the way that it is today is an absolute disgrace. The final verdict, 4 consecutive life sentences, 30 years of probation, and 70 hours of community service. Court dismissed. Across the various transportation manufacturers stood one above the rest. Throughout their lengthy history of over 100 years, Bud has earned a reputation for building unbreakable, durable designs. That's an acronym for Bud. Today, I want to see what the Bud Company brought to New York transportation. So to start with this retrospective, let's take a look at the legendary R32 subway cars. The R32 subway cars have had an epic life with over 60 years of service and are very popular among rail fans and train operators alike. Let's start with the design. The R32 has a stainless steel body, giving the cars the nickname Brightliners. 600 of these cars were built from 1964 to 1965. The coolest thing about the R32 is its longevity. The R32 subway cars were first put in service in 1964 and weren't retired until 2022. To put in perspective how long that is, the subway cars were in service before the creation of the home computer and around to see the rise of virtual reality. The cars have also outlived newer cars such as the R38, a 40, a 42, and a 44. The R32 were meant to retire, and most were retired by the late 2000s, but due to critical issues found with the R44, the R44 were retired instead. By then, over of the fleet were retired and the rest were on the A, C, J, and Z trains where they would stay until their retirement. Bud's durable design saved the MTA, as had the R44 and R32 both retired, things would have gotten messy, to say the least. However, death soon came knocking on the car's door. The R160S replaced most of the R32S that were retired in the late 2000s, but the remaining cars were replaced by the R179 cars. More cars would be retired until the last R32 train set ran on the C train on March 26, 2020, leaving the cars to go down in history as one of the longest-lasting subway cars in NYC history. That was until issues were found in the R179, bringing the R32S out of retirement in June until being retired for good in October 2020. In December 2021, retirement runs on the R32 cars began, leading to the last run on the Q train on January 9, 2022, ending 58 years of outstanding service. However, that wasn't all that Bud made. We have 4 more cars starting with the Bud M1 M3. The Bud M13 are a series of electric multiple units EMU for short that run on the Long Island Railroad and Metro North Railroad. The M1 was built in 1968 for the LER and was known as the Metropolitans. The M1A was the Metro North equivalent. Both were retired by 2009. The M3 and M3A were similar to the M1A and were built in the mid-80s. These cars are still running today and have a similar look to the F40 for subway car. Bud cars have a history of great longevity. The M2 was an EMU that ran on the New Haven line on Metro North. The cars were built from 1973 to 1976 and were retired by 2012 and were replaced by the M8 EMU. The cars are identical to the newer M4 and M6 cars, but those were not built by Bud. The cars had a stainless steel body, which is classic Bud engineering, and overall had a lengthy life with Metro North. These cars were known as Cosmopolitans, and that name is very similar to the M1 cars Metropolitans. Now the last two cars in this retrospective are both very experimental, the first being the Bud SPV2000. The Bud SPV2000, as Wikipedia puts it, was a self-propelled diesel multiple-unit railcar built by the Bud Company between 1978 and 1981 for use on North American commuter railroads. These cars were the successor to the RDC, an iconic Bud railcar, and had the body based on the Amfleet railcar. 45 were built, but 14 were just empty shells. The cars had a top speed of 120 miles per hour, but I doubt it ever went that fast during service. The MTA brought 10 of these for use on Metro North's Hudson Line and started running in 1981, and by 1982 the cars were known to be defective. It is not known what happened to the Metro North Bud SPV2000 post-retirement, other than one is preserved at the Connecticut Eastern Railroad Museum in Willimantic, Connecticut. The final Bud railcar is the R1130 for subway car. I already did a video on this, which I will link down in the description. The cars were built in 1949 and were built to be a new tech train prototype. They had the stainless steel build. The Bud is known for, and 10 cars were built costing $10,000 each, giving the name $1 Million Train. The cars entered service in 1949, and in 1965 the cars were overhauled in 1964 and given the name of a 34. These cars were the first stainless steel subway cars built, and the R32 was the first bulk order of stainless cars. So I guess you can say that the R11 walked so the R32 could run. The R11 cars were retired in 1977. One car, car 8013, was preserved and is a part of the New York Transit Museum. With that comes the end of my retrospective of Bud's legacy with the MTA. It takes a good company to build equipment that lasts longer than the actual company. Bud has made various iconic railcars throughout history, and their longevity is second to none. Well, when it comes to subway cars, Bud's history is ongoing as the M3 cars are still running.
There's a star